Hello everybody, how are you? Welcome to our new lesson. Welcome back to Daring class for English learning, for my English teaching class, especially for online English learning together in the class. Today, we are going to talk about a very special subject, being famous topic we have for chapter 7. We are going to talk about how to conduct a discussion. Okay. Okay. Firstly, I would like to explain about competence indicators or skills. Before I explain the material, firstly, I would like to tell to you for some goals for English learning. Okay. There are some competence indicators or skills for this material. What are they? Okay, the students are expected to be able to, number one, open English discussion. Number two, practice for speaking in English discussion. Number three, tell for inviting questions in English discussion. Number four, close English discussion. Because our material about how to conduct a discussion, so for the competence indicators or skills, there are 4 goals. Okay, what are they? Okay, number one, the students are expected to be able to open English discussion. Then number two, at the end of learning, the students are expected to be able to practice for speaking in English discussion. The third goals, at the end of learning, the students are expected to tell for inviting questions in an English discussion. Okay. And then the fourth goals, at the end of learning, the students are expected to be able to close English discussion. Okay, remember the goals as the competence indicators or skills for the topic how to conduct a discussion. Wow. Point A, opening discussion. In opening a classroom discussion, a greeting is first followed by a thank you for attendance or for the opportunity given by the lecturer. Once more, I repeat once more. In opening a classroom discussion, a greeting is first followed by a thank you for attendance or for the opportunity given by the lecturer. Second, introduce yourself and your partners as a group. Third, tell to the participants of discussion about the topic that will be discussed. Okay, in point A, opening discussion, it means that in opening a classroom discussion, there are 3 steps. What are they? The first one is greeting. Because a greeting is first followed by thank you for attendance from the audience for the opportunity given by the lecturers. Yeah. And then the second steps, introduce yourself and your partners as a group. And then the third step, tell to the participants, tell to the audience of discussion about the topic that will be discussed. That's the opening of discussion. Yeah. Okay. The next, here are the expressions used in opening discussions. Okay. Number one, greeting. Okay. Here are the expressions used in greeting discussion. Okay. For example, okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, or the another examples of greeting, you can use good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming on discussion today. Okay, the other example of greeting, a good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for us on the participation of its presence here. For the lecture, Miss Alice, thank you for taking the time to lead by the hands. So here are the expressions used in opening discussion as greetings. Well, I will repeat once more so that it's more clear. Okay, my students. Point A, opening discussion. When you want to do a discussion, in opening a classroom discussion, there are some steps that will be conveyed. What are they? The first one is greeting, because greeting is the first followed by a thank you for attendance. Okay. Then the second one is introduce yourself and your partners as a groups of discussion. And then the third, tell to the participants of discussion about the topic that will be discussed. So it is the steps when you want to do a discussion in opening a classroom discussion. Okay, and then the next, there are the expressions, some example expressions used in opening discussion for greeting. Yeah. Okay, for example, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming on discussion today. Or good morning, how are you? Yeah. Okay, you can use some example expressions used in opening discussions for greetings. Okay, I will continue. Next slide. Number 2, introducing group. Well, there are some expressions for introducing groups. Okay, for example, well, okay, I will introduce myself and my partners. My name is, I am as the moderator. My partners are, let us introduce ourselves. I am, next to me is, we are from group 2. We are from group 5. We are from group 1. Okay, our group will present the material about. Okay, and then thank you for coming on discussion today. And for the lecturers, thank you for taking the time to lead by the hands. Okay, this one is the examples of expressions for introducing group of discussion. Okay, I will continue. Next slide. B, practicing discussion. In this part, a moderator has to provide an opportunity for the presenters to explain the material that will be discussed. Here are some ways in presenting the material. Okay. In practicing discussion, in this part, a moderator has to provide an opportunity for the presenters to explain the materials that will be discussed here. So here are some ways in presenting the materials. Okay, subject, I plan to say a few words about the theme of my presentation is, or I'm going to talk about. Okay, the other example, I will explain the material about. Okay, this one is some ways in presenting the materials, in practicing discussion. Because in this part, a moderator has to provide an opportunity for the presenters to explain the material that will be discussed. Okay. practicing discussion. Point C, inviting questions. Yeah. Okay, inviting questions. After the presenters has explained the material that will be discussed, the next, there are some ways for inviting questions. Yeah. Okay. In point C, inviting questions, a moderator also needs to explain the brief rules to the participants during ask and answer the questions. So, in point C, inviting questions, a moderator also needs to explain the brief rules to the participants, to the audience during ask and answer the questions. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here are the examples, the ways to answer the questions. Okay. Number 1. Thank you for your opinion, or thank you for your suggestion, or thank you for your questions, or thank you for your criticism. Number 2. I will try to comment your answers, or my partner will try to answer your questions. Okay, number 3. I plan to keep some minutes for your questions. Thank you. Can I answer your questions? Did you understand for my explanation? Thank you for the valuable opinion and suggestion. So you may use there's some examples, the ways to answer the questions that will be used in your discussion. Oops. Okay. The ways to answer the questions, also there are some ways to invite the questions. Okay. As I have explained before, the ways to invite the questions, the moderator needs to explain the brief rules to the audience or to the participants during ask the questions. Okay, this one is the examples of ways to invite the questions. Number 1, okay, the presenter has explained the material. It is your turn to give some questions. It is your turn to give opinions, suggestions, or critiques for our groups. Okay, number 2, in the first session, I gave a chance for 3 participants who wish to make opinion. Or in this first session, I give a chance for 3 questions. Okay. Yeah. And then number 3, this is the explanation. Thank you for listening. Now, I would like to invite your comments. Okay, the other examples. This is the explanations. Thank you for listening. Now, I would like to invite your questions. Number 4. We have half an hour for questions and discussions. Please, any questions? Anybody would like to ask? Anybody would like to comment? Are there any questions? Do you have some opinion or suggestions? Okay, so some examples. There are some examples, the ways to invite the questions, that the moderator needs to explain the brief rules to the participants during invite the questions, yeah, during ask the questions. Okay. Okay, in point D, summarizing. Okay, summarizing. Okay, here are some examples of expressions that can be used in making conclusion. Okay, after we have do inviting question and answering the questions, okay, the group presentation will give summarizing to the audience, to all participants. So here are some examples of expressions that can be used in making conclusions. Okay, the examples. In short, so the point is, to sum up, to conclude, in conclusion, to summarize. So the points are, so the conclusion is, in summary. Okay, there are some examples of expressions that can be used in making conclusion or summarizing in a classroom discussion. Okay, next slide. Point E, closing discussion. In the end of presentation, a moderator may use these expressions. Okay, what are the expressions? Okay, the expressions can be used in closing discussion. Okay, number one, well done. I would like to finish with good morning, or thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening. May all those we have shared be beneficial for all of us. Thank you very much for your great attention, ladies and gentlemen. Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oke. Oke. Next English class online learning. Please, you are expected to be able for writing down the frameworks and the expressions how to conduct a discussion. That includes number one, opening discussion. Number two, practicing material. Number three, closing discussions. Okay, I means that I will repeat once more so that it's more clear. In writing skill, for English class online learning today, please, you are expected to be able for writing down the frameworks, and the expressions how to conduct a discussion. That includes opening discussion. In opening discussions, what are the expressions? Yeah, you may write down the frameworks and the expressions how to conduct a discussion. That includes opening discussions, practicing discussions, and closing discussions based on my explanation before. Okay, did you understand what I mean? Yeah, I will repeat once more. Yeah. Okay, in writing skills, for English class online learning today, please, you are expected to be able for writing down the frameworks, and the expressions how to conduct a discussion. That includes opening discussion, practicing material, and closing discussions. Yeah. I have explained the material before. What are the expressions for opening discussions? What are the expressions for practicing material? And then what are the examples, the ways to closing discussion? Now, please, you are expected to be able for writing down the frameworks, and please write the expressions. For example, number one, opening discussion. Please, you are expected to write the expression. For example, opening discussion. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming today. This one is this example. And then number two, practicing material. In practicing material, there are inviting and answering questions. Yeah. Okay. There are some expressions that can be used when presenters will explain the material. You may write the expressions. What are the expressions when the presenter will explain the material? After that, there are the ways how to invite question, the ways for answering questions. Please write the expressions in the frameworks in your HVS paper. Yeah. And then number 3, closing discussion. What are the expressions for closing discussion? Yeah, as I have explained to you before, yeah, you may use. Okay, this one is example. Okay, this one is the example for the expressions closing discussions. Thank you for your attention, or thank you for your listening. May all those we have shares be beneficial for all of us. Thank you very much. See you. Okay, this one is example. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. For the goals of our learning. Okay, the goals of learning, tujuan pembelajarannya. Okay, this one is the goals of learning, competence indicators or skills. The students are expected to be able to open English discussions. Now, I hope that all of my students are expected to be able to open English discussion. I hope that all of my students uh, can explain, can tell, yeah, how to open English discussions by your own words in English. Okay. And then the second goals of learning, the students are expected to be able to practice for speaking in English discussion. I hope that the goals for learning number 2, the students are expected to be able to practice your speaking. Yeah. Okay, the students are expected to be able to practice your speaking in English discussion. It means that when you want to do an English discussion, all of my students are expected to be able to practice your speaking in English. Okay, yeah, let's study together. Let's think that English is fun. English is not difficult. Yeah, English is very interesting. English, if we love English, uh, English is fun. Yeah, if we love study English, if we love for studying English, yeah, let us think that English is fun. Let us think that English is not difficult. Yeah, okay. And then the third goals for learning, the students are expected to be able to tell for inviting questions in English discussions. It means that I hope that at the end of learning, all of my students are expected to be able to tell for inviting questions in English discussions. As I have explained to you before, there are some expressions for inviting questions in English discussions. Okay, is there anyone who still remember what are the ways, what are the expressions for inviting questions? Okay, is there anyone still remember what are the expressions for inviting questions? Yeah, in yeah, yeah, for inviting questions, a moderator, yeah, a moderator need to give a brief rules for the participants. Yeah, when yeah, okay, when the moderator, yeah, okay, in inviting questions, a moderator need to give a brief rules to the participants. Yeah, okay, there are some expressions for inviting questions. For example, in the first sessions, I would like to give the chance 3 questions. Or in the first session, our groups will give the opportunity to participants for 2 questions. Okay, this is the examples as the brief rules from the material for inviting questions in English discussion. And then the last goals of learning. The students are expected to be able to close English discussion. Okay, I believe that all of my students are expected to be able to close English discussion. I believe that all of students can give example for the expressions close English discussion. Okay, this one is all competence indicators or skills as the goals for learning today. Yeah. Okay, there are point A, opening discussion. And then point B, practicing discussion. Point C, inviting questions. Okay, there are the ways to answer the questions. There are some expressions, the ways to invite the questions. Point D, summarizing. There are some examples of expressions that can be used in making conclusions or summarizing. And then point E, closing discussions. At the end of presentation, a moderator may use these expressions. Okay, here are some expressions for closing discussion. I hope that all of my students are expected to be able to open English discussion, to tell expressions for practicing material, and then all my students are expected to be able to tell some expressions for inviting questions in English discussions. And the last, all of my students are expected to be able to close an English discussion. Okay, and at the end of slide, for writing skills, for English online class today, you are expected to be ready with yourself for writing down the frameworks and the expressions how to conduct a discussion that includes opening discussion, practicing material, and closing discussions. Please, you make your project by handwritten in your HVS paper, and then don't forget you may collect for your project via Google Classroom. Okay, that's it for my explanation. I think that's enough for today. I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you for your joining. Thank you for your listening. We will continue for the next week. See you and bye.